it as the second one. And if the time permits, maybe we can briefly elaborate another topic. So in this presentation, I would like to share with you, these are based on our humble experience. So it's not only about theoretical, although in some of the analysis, I borrow several methodological tools. Because in Indonesia, Alhamdulillah, since 2016, we always, prioritize evidence-based and research-based policy. So every policy must be initiated by the academic script, which is based on the research. You cannot produce any significant policy unless you produce the academic background for that one. Yeah. So, for example, I was creating almost 2,000 pages for the 5 years development of zakat in the country as the director of Center of Strategic Studies. That becomes a guidance, yeah, for the policy formulation. So this is what we are doing. Okay. And my topic for this one is strategies for productive zakat and wakaf. As has been mentioned earlier, then we need to change our mindset from charitable transfer to sustainable empowerment and productive asset. Yeah, so this is a very important topic. Next, why we name it productive zakat and wakaf? And even we have built World University Network for Productive Wakaf. So we want to promote the term productive, yeah, zakat and wakaf, because resources from the rich to the poor, from muzaki to mustahiq, from wakif to mawkuf alayh. It's not only transfer resources, but also to transform capabilities, assets, and livelihood, which are beyond income or resources. So what mindset need to be changed? This is what we did in both Basnas and Indonesia Wakaf Board. So what we did is we changed the mindset from relief to resilience. Yeah, from relief to resilience. So more beneficiaries from short-term consumption support toward durable income, adaptive capacity. This is the first mindset that we need to change. The second one, from asset to productivity. It's not only owning asset, but how you turn the underutilized wakaf asset into sustainable economic and social value. This is the second mindset. The third one is from project to ecosystem. Yeah, we are not only talking about project, yeah, education project, business project, economic empowerment project, but we try to build ecosystem, an integrated ecosystem, connect financial aspect, skills, markets, technology, governance, and partnership. So this is the third mindset that we want to change in every Amil officers and Nazir officer. In Indonesia, we use the term Nazir. In some countries, maybe Mutawalli, yeah, but us, a Nazir. And the fourth one, we change the mindset from beneficiaries to contributors. What does it mean? It means we have to create pathways, roadmap for mustahik to become muzaki, or at least economically independent. From being beneficiaries of wakaf to become wakif, to have economically independent situation or condition. That's why every Amil institution should create the pathway. When the program was started and when they should be enjoying the graduation. You know, graduation is not only when you are completing your PhD, bachelor or master, but also when you are completing, you have completed your program. So the mustahik, if join your program, they join your economic empowerment program, they have to be graduated by what? You have to target and create the pathway. How many years needed to transform them? 3 years, 5 years, 15 years? If it is 20 years, then don't be amil then find another job because you are not working properly if you allow a person to be mustahik forever. Yeah, we don't want to produce eternal mustahik. So these four things must be changed. Yeah, from relief to resilience, from asset to productivity, from project to ecosystem, and the last one from beneficiaries to contributors. These are very important things. Next, we have two instruments, one transformation agenda. Zakat is primarily people-centered, but wakaf is fundamentally asset-centered. Yeah, both require strong institution and productive ecosystem. In productive zakat, through the empowerment that we do, what we are going to do basically, we want to build long-term resilience. They need to have long-term resilience. We have to develop sustainable sources of income because without sustainability, then they may fall again. They may be trapped again, yeah, to the mustahik status and transform where possible from mustahik into muzaki. And when we talk about productive wakaf, actually, we want to make it, the wakaf asset become productive. What does productive mean? It means it can create greater socioeconomic benefits. That's number one. You have a piece of land. The value is how much? In Naira, 1 million Naira, maybe, I don't know, yeah, the price. Let's say, if your value of land is still 1 million Naira after 1 year, it means you are not working as Nazir. You have to increase the value of that land. You have to think creatively how, yeah, to create greater socioeconomic benefits. That's the essence of a productive wakaf. So these two require strong institutions, and of course, there has to be one transformation agenda to make it the target of zakat and wakaf become productive. We target the mustahik to become productive. We target the asset wakaf to become productive. So if it happens, then this is what I called earlier as growth through equity. Equity means transformation of this. Equity means productive zakat and wakaf dominate, yeah, and drive the economic growth of a country, including especially our countries. Okay, next. So, what is the impact? Yeah, productive impact chain. Yeah, there are five things, five aspects here. First, you need to identify what factors that need to be identified: the needs, the capabilities, the assets, and the constraints. So you have to identify this, yeah, because failing to identify this may be resulted in the failure of the program design. Number two, invest. What need to be invested here? Capital, skills, technology, and mentoring process. So when we do mentoring activities, yeah, because when we talk about productive zakat, for example, don't let the mustahik work alone without our supervision, without our guidance. That's why we need to become mentor to the mustahik, meaning that amil officers must be increased their quality of mentoring process. So you have to consider it not as a cost, but as an investment that you invest to your amil officers, you invest to your nazir officers, yeah, to get the certification, just like our chairman has received, yeah, last year, yeah, received certification, recognized nationally. This is something that you need to invest and try to connect. Identify, invest, and connect. How you connect to market, how to create market, yeah, how to access the market, online market, yeah. If you empower farmers, who will be the off taker? Is it us as the institution of Amil or Nazir? Is it us who do that? Then how to channel the product? If we are acting as off-taker, what should be done by us in order to channel the production that has been produced by the farmer? And then grow. How to grow the income, the productivity, the asset value, and the resilience. It's very important. You need to put on the agenda how you grow the income of Mustahik. That's why the presence of Cibes model actually to help us how to grow up the income of the poor. If, let's say, we do one program like this, at the end of the day, it can only increase 2% of the income. What we need to do? And how do we know it's only 2% increase? We need certain methodological approach. Yeah. So this is what we do in Indonesia. That's why as I said earlier, we can make it 11 times bigger, the collection within 9 years, because of this effort and because of the grace of Allah, of course. Yeah. So how to grow this one? And the last one is transformation. Yeah. How to transform, making them independence, economically independence. Contribution. That's why the poor people must be taught to also share the infaq or sadaqah. In our program, the mustahik is required to pay weekly sadaqah. Yeah, from their income collected after 1 year, 52 weeks, then with some other mustahiks, yeah, the donated fund is gathered, and then they create a program to give this collected donation to the other mustahik, from mustahik to mustahik. Why is it important? Mindset change. Yeah, mindset change. That if you want to transform yourself, you have to have mentality, taqwa mentality. And what is taqwa mentality? وَمِمَّا رُزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ Allazina yunfikuna fis sarra'i wad dharra. These are examples of mentality. That requires mindset change. That's why transformation is very important. So these five, yeah, these five are very important. It becomes the change that are interrelated. This verse, we are not talking only about the asset acquired, but we talk about these as the entire process. Okay, next. Yeah. Productive zakat, portfolio approach. What we need to do? Capability building. What are the things that need to be increased? Skills, financial literacy, business coaching, digital literacy, leadership and problem solving. These are very fundamental. Productive capital, tools, working capital, livestock, agricultural inputs, productive equipment, Sharia compliant financing structures. Then this is part of the productive capital. When we design, because I was involved in the designing of cash wakaf link suku that received ISDB prize, yeah, the thing which is very important is this one, Sharia compliant financing structure. How can we create a structure that is applicable? Yeah. And then market and ecosystem. This is also very important. Off-takers. We talk about agriculture. Who are the off-takers? Cooperatives. What are the roles of cooperatives? Halal value chains. How to utilize the halal value chain? Yeah. Because halal industry is growing rapidly. You know, in today's situation, when global economic growth is under pressure, there is a slowdown in economic growth. What happened to the halal industry growth? It grows on the opposite side. This is the global economic slowdown, but for the halal industry, it increases like this. But who enjoy the money? Yeah, who enjoy the most? You know, the data shows, if we look at the OIC trade, internal trade data, 78% of halal food is supplied from minority Muslim countries. Us, we produce the Muslims only 22%. Yeah. So whose fault is it? It's our fault. That's why we have to capture again. We have to take back again this halal food. I'm not talking about halal pharmacy. Even halal pharmacy, 95% of medicine, halal medical equipments, drugs, etc., are supplied by the Muslim minority country. Yeah. So this is our path. That's why market and ecosystem must be come into our mind. That when we empower the poor, the needy in any program, think comprehensively from A to Z, from production until the market. You have to think comprehensively. Never introduce any program without comprehensive thinking until the market. You have to think the supply chain. You have to think the entire production process. That must be identified. The homework that is given by our Deputy President must be answered in this direction. Try to think comprehensively in any sector and never launch any program if you don't know how to market the product. Why you empower the farmer? Why you give the fund to the trader, to the mustahik trader, if you don't know the end project, if you don't know the end market, if you don't know the end user? Answer those questions, put it in one direction, in one ecosystem. Until you are convinced, then you can help increasing the welfare level of the mustahik. Okay, next. Next. Okay, this is SWOT analysis. Yeah, I just give you some, maybe for the weakness, yeah, for the weakness. For example, productive zakat, sometimes fragmented programs, fragmented. You just think, as long as I can distribute. Yes, from fiqh perspective, yes, you have done your job. But what differentiates you between you and the ordinary rich people? Ordinary rich people can also distribute the fund by themselves, right? The same thing with us, right? So what is the role of us as Amil? Yeah. Although it's not easy. I did this transformation because I was assigned by the Prof. Bambang Sudibyo at the time. Yeah, to do these things to our Amil officers, to inject them with this mindset change. Yeah. So fragmented programs, short-term project orientation, short-term. You are thinking only for 1 year program, even 1 day program, 1 minute program. That creates problem. And limited impact measurement. Why we actually in order to convince us that we have been doing the right things on the right direction, with the right resources, with the right program design, to convince ourselves first. And the second one is to convince our most valuable stakeholders, which are Muzaki and the candidates of Muzaki. Yeah, so this is the things that we need to do. Yeah, and of course there are threats like business failure, yeah, or beneficiary dependency. That's also the leakage, weak governance, market volatility, etc. So I just give you the simple SWOT analysis on how you create the productive zakat. On the other hand, we have the opportunities. Digital zakat collection. In Basnas, Alhamdulillah, now digital-based collection almost reach 70% of the total collection. So from what we have been collecting, almost 70%